All right, Chris, so we're back from Alaska. Successful river brew.
That was a hell of a trip. We've been heading to Alaska for about 5 years now. And you know, last year we did that awesome Mount Whitney brew and we had to top it. And Olin came up with the great idea of, let's brew on the river. And we're like, wow, that would be pretty cool. I bet you nobody has brewed on a drift before. And to one up it, we started playing with Kviek yeast strains and we're like, well, let's not just brew on the river. Let's force ferment hot and let's serve it in the same week that we're up there instead of just throwing away the wort when we fly home.
All right, Chris, day 6 of the float, and you are pouring a beer on the river.
6 days. That's amazing.
Fermentation and carbonation.
All in an RV or on a drift boat here in Alaska on the Kenai River. There's our drift boats. RVs stayed here overnight. It's getting time to brew.
Okay, so we got into Anchorage last night, picked up these motorhomes and drift boats, and we're about to hit the river today.
So we got a brew system, and the goal this week is to brew beer today on the float while we fish, while we float down the river, and then we're gonna ferment that hot and fast and be serving it on day 6 or day 7 while we go fishing some more.
You can't brew beer in 6 days, Chris.
Watch to find out how. Every beer starts with great water, and this is about the most perfect water I've ever seen.
All right, we're on the float here with our friends from Bumper Bar, Phil and Mark Mark's filling up the water from the Kenai River. We got some red salmon in the river around us, so it might taste a little fishy.
Lots of hops will hide that fish flavor. All right, so we used our little jet boils like we did camping to heat up our water quick. And adding that back in to water we are heating up in here as well. The goal is this is going to be a brew in a bag. We want to get that base water, which is 40-something degrees coming out of this river, up to 158, and we are pretty far away at 108. All right, so let's check out what Darren built us to do the boil on. We're heating the water up right now, but this contraption's pretty sweet. Underneath here, you got a nice wide base. We got 3 level adjusting feet so that we can keep this nice and sturdy. Put 3 tabs on with straps so we can secure it.
As Chris mentioned, the base goes up and down. We've got adjustable legs so that we can level it out during the float. Pretty sweet setup.
Right down. About 161. The water is at 160, and we are going to get it into this cooler. Olin's going to get the bag for the brew in a bag. That over the edge here, and then start going in.
All right, 2 pounds of Viking extra pale malt. Okay, now we're adding 1/2 pound of wheat and 1/2 pound of oats.
We are about 150. This is perfect. All right, let's seal her up.
There we go.
Now we let her sit for an hour. So we are sparging, basically just removing the sugars from all the grains that are in there. We'll do this for about 15 minutes or so. We'll start boiling. Bonus feature, we're pretty sure we are the only people who have sparged on the Kenai River before. Darren built us a thing where we can raise and lower the burner, and these aren't like what you're brewing with propane. We're using little camping stove trying to heat this water up. So we're not just gonna sit around and do this, we're gonna keep fishing. So now you have a little tiny fly line that is some sort of plastic that does not like heat.
Yeah, well, the burner went right where the mending line would go.
Yes.
So we've got live flame, we've got a kettle with all kinds of like angular And then we've got you and I going over the top of each other with this thing in the middle, fly fishing.
And I doubt
wasn't easy.
And I doubt either one of us had a spare fly line to replace if we needed it. I would love to say that boil happened fast, but that boil was a fight. And I put the lid on for a bit, took the pressure relief valve off, put the pressure relief back on, basically turned the whole thing into a pressure cooker to get it up to a boil faster.
Don't recommend that at home.
No, I was checking it every few seconds just to see if pressure was building.
How's it looking, Chris?
It's looking pretty good, but it's hard to do a good boil here. It's cold, so put the jacket back on, and I've been putting the lid on and checking it periodically for pressure. I've been heating up. Got it to about 195. We're hoping to get it to a roaring boil here shortly. But eventually, after a canister change and that for a while, we did eventually get a good boil. All right, so we're at the last 10 minutes of the boil. We had to get it to a boil by just taking the poppet valve out. I got a nice steam going through here. A little boil over, but that's okay. We'll clean it up later. Half ounce of Amarillo, and we're putting a half ounce. That looks about like a half ounce of Cryo Mosaic. Bring it back up to a boil. Well, we're done boiling. We're getting a little dark here up here in Alaska, so it's must be about 5 o'clock. But we're in river water here. We're just gonna let it dangle in this water for a bit and cool down naturally. We overcooled it. You know, the goal was to get it in like the low 80s to pitch. That was my goal at least.
Yeah.
But we caught some big fish in that hole. That was that back eddy, kind of left that in there a little too long.
Maybe the brewing became secondary for an hour or so.
When you start getting fish like this large, you know, that large, no, that size, and
hold them out
and heavy, it becomes fun, obviously. So then, whoops, we cooled it down to probably in the 50s, and we're fighting our way to warm it back up for pitch.
Okay, we're back in the motorhome, and we just added the Lutra yeast. We've cooled the keg in the river. It actually got a little bit too cold, so we're heating it back up with some hot water packets. We're going to use some of those hand warmers as well, and we got it back up to 84 degrees. We pitch in the Lutra yeast. Chris and I love this yeast. It's a really clean fermenter, and it's going to be able to ferment our beer in just a couple days at that temperature. And now we're going to add a couple drops of Fomax, which will keep the krausen under control. And we're going to add 2 drops. And then we got the blow tie spunding valve on here so we can ferment under pressure as well, which will keep it clean in addition to the Nutra yeast, because we'll be fermenting under pressure and suppressing esters. So that is pretty quick setup, and we're ready for fermentation.
What day are we on? Like, we brewed this what day? Wednesday?
So we brewed it Wednesday.
You've already forgotten what day we're on?
Yeah.
Today is Saturday.
That's Alaska, baby.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, day 3.
All right, we're on day 3. We brewed this on Wednesday. It's Saturday. It's time to transfer over. Of course, 3 days. That's all it takes. So we're using some Mosaic and Simcoe. We're using cryo hops, so get more bang for your buck. Basically, it'll take up less space when we dry hop it and leave less behind, so we'll get more beer out of it. So when it came to dry hopping, in the test batch, I just used T90 that I had around, and it was nice and easy. And it was pretty mellow. It had a nice hop character, but it wasn't too aggressive.
And then I had the bright idea of, Chris, we should use cryo.
I mean, we work with them now quite a bit and love their products, so why not? You could carry less of it. But what I never sat down to do was calculate how much we really should have. And you know, just kind of hand pouring how much we think it should be, especially after we've drank on the river for the day.
All day.
All day. I mean, not drinking all day. I mean, we're fishing, important things. But, you know, things got a little loose and we poured in maybe a hair too much to the point where it was a little bit green.
I think it was a scunch.
Yeah, scunch.
Now we'll flush it with some CO2. It's a Core 360 regulator. Product placement. Do you know how these work? That sounds good. Yeah. I think beer's moving through that. Oh, we're transferring. Okay, good.
Are you transferring?
Yeah.
That's pretty clear.
So Olin,
Chris.
we had a little snafu on one of those islands during the filming day.
We did, yeah. So I had told you earlier in the day, Chris, we should be filming with both phones because we had filmed most of it, about 75% on my phone. And I was like, just in case one of us loses our phones, never should have said that, we should be splitting up kind of time.
And we're both kind of OCD people about certain things, and like our phones and such, we know where they are.
Certain
never,
pocket, right?
In 5 years, we've never had a problem. This hasn't been an issue, but.
Yeah, so we get down to an island midway through the river, midway through the Brew, and I can't find my phone. And I'm looking everywhere for it. It's just gone, right? I had it in my pocket, pocket's open, had to jump out of the boat at one point in time. Really not sure what happened, but it's gone. So we're back in the motorhome into Brew Day, lost like half of our footage from that day, major bummer.
Good amount. And we're now talking about like, how are we gonna recreate this? Because we don't have more ingredients, you know?
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to fake the moon landing here for some of these scenes of what we're missing.
Yeah. So we take the motorhomes down, we're fishing different river further down the Kenai Peninsula. So no chance to kind of go back and refloat it and find the phone. 3 days later, get a phone call in the morning. I had put up emergency on my phone. Someone had found the phone in the river, had been in the Kenai River for 2 days, plugged it in, saw my wife's number, called it, and then she gave me a call. We talked to the guy, and he's like, I got your phone, I plugged it back in, and I'm headed to this, I'm headed back to Anchorage, but I could drop it off at this restaurant, which is the restaurant that we were going to for breakfast randomly.
That we go to most years,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
has reindeer sausage, and so it's always
it's
one of our
delicious.
special
Yeah,
little
yeah.
places we like to go to, so that was perfect. Like, we all celebrated when we saw that phone.
Yeah, so I get the phone, I plug it in, and there's enough, like, it works just enough to load everything back up to the cloud, and it was like, didn't really work after that, so just basically just had enough time with the phone to get all this footage off of it.
I will say this, Apple, congratulations. That's pretty amazing that that phone made it through that.
2 days and 40-some degree water in a rushing river 2 feet down.
So we serve on the 6th day after brewing it, which is fast. That's a fast turnaround.
Super fast.
And we have a little keg, as you can see in the video, and CO2, so we carbonate it. We put it in the fridge of the RV so we can carbonate it a couple days. It didn't take much because we fermented under pressure as well. And I was really nervous because I was looking at the color of it when we took a sample, and it's got so much cryo in there that it's almost green, and I'm colorblind and I could tell that.
All right, pouring a pint of New School Kicks on the river, day 6 in Alaska. Some beer that Chris brewed in the last 6 days, pretty amazing. Hazy pale ale. It's nothing like having draft beer on the drift boat. Don't get it very often. It's got some hop particulate. We dry hopped. Very, very hoppy. If we had an extra day or two, it'd probably settle out really nice, but you know, still very drinkable.
Yeah, it was definitely hoppy, but I thought it was excellent. I mean, it really turned out good. I mean, it was on the hoppy side, but if it had another week or two, it would have been great.
It was clean.
Yeah.
That was the amazing part. I mean, fermenting as hot as we can pretty much get it and keep it, especially on like, you know, nights that get down to 32 or less degrees in the RV.
I mean, let's just say the Lutra strain's pretty amazing for fermenting clean at hot temperatures.
Yes, and I thought, you know, we'll do a fill everyone's glass, or, you know, we had plastic cups. Everyone's been on the river all day. At this point, when we have them taste it, they've been drinking great beer.
Slightly burned out.
There he goes, and he got one.
This little guy stretch.
Let's all show everybody the massive whale that Chris got. That's why you come to Alaska, right there, baby.
That doesn't happen at other farms.
So I thought they would all have a sip, say cheers and whatnot. But no, I watched almost all of them continuously sip and you know, finish those beers.
Wait a minute, it's on video.
So we finished that keg. I mean, we polished off 1 gallon.
That's
of that beer,
true.
Right? Yeah.
Chris is fishing and drinking.
So Chris, another awesome adventure brew. We saw grizzly bears, we saw moose, we caught fish, we brewed beer in 6 days. Like, what could be better?
So much good times with our friends, obviously, and then incorporating this adventure. I mean, that was 2 real adventures in one. First is brewing on a float, like an unstable in the water thing was its own separate thing. And then fermenting it and serving it in under a week is, I consider, its own adventure.
Yeah,
So,
it's like a miracle.
yeah. So this could be an annual thing. Like,
Annual.
Like, we just find a new adventure. We're gonna need your help to figure out what these new things can be, because we're kind of out of ideas, but...
So are you going to be the one who tells my wife that we're taking another week trip, besides all the trade shows and the fishing, that we have to do an adventure brew every year?
It's work. Yes,
It
the audience.
It is work, Chris.
The audience is waiting.
Yeah, so where should we go?
Well, that's a great question. We would love your thoughts, your comments would help us come up with good ideas. If you do something that's a cool adventure and you think, hey, we could figure out how to brew in here, maybe we could join you on your adventure.